because Andrew Tate is back in the news. They have upped and changed and expanded the human trafficking charges against him in Romania, and he had a very, very popular live stream episode of the emergency meeting the other night on Rumble. 432,000 concurrent viewers at one point. That's crazy.
Do you want to watch a little bit of the stream?
Can we just? I mean, I have it. I just happen to have it pulled up here. Like
having this many viewers on Rumble is remarkable. By
yes,
the way.
I could just hit play and see like just whatever he says at this point because I don't have any timestamps pulled up. I wonder what he's saying it right at this exact second.
Okay.
Nobody tried to start a fight on me. I didn't run into the same people Andrew did.
Oh, this was him telling. I think he's telling. This is Tristan Tate telling a prison story.
Oh, okay.
So
but if I walked into a room full of prisoners, they looked at me and thought, "Fuck! I hope that guy's not a rapist. I hope that guy's not violent." I didn't have to walk in there and think, "Oh, I hope these guys aren't violent. I hope these guys aren't dangerous," because I spent years preparing for any situation. Now, did I think I was going to go to jail? No. And neither do you, but let me tell you something. Here was my method to stay out of jail. I thought, if I never commit any crimes, I won't go to jail. This is what I thought until maybe 1 year ago when the Matrix started attacking us in this way. And
does anybody else, when they hear the Matrix, think of Agent Smith literally following them around? That's what I think of now. And I don't think of the amorphous wool that's been pulled over the eyes of the general public in the way that they display it. I want to think instead of actual Agent Smith following them around and trying to catch them.
It's so funny that any 2 minutes that you could pull up from this stream is a soundbite. They talk in sound bites. It's like a different language.
They're very well spoken, and they know how to make content that can be pulled from easily. And that's something that's true of people that are media trained. But they talk about a lot of different stuff in this segment. I had thoughts on it when I was originally looking at it. So what they did is they upped the charges against him to what is called, again, to Andrew Tate now, not to Tristan Tate. Human trafficking in continued form is what they called it. And he also addressed the BBC interview and the fact that the lady wouldn't acknowledge who is it that made these claims against you all these years ago. And they do point out that it's very hard. Like, how am I supposed to take it seriously when you're saying this person that I can't corroborate said this thing about me 9 years ago? Like, well, what does that mean? I could make a claim against you that could mean anything if there's no actual name or source to back up what you're saying. Anybody can say anything about anyone. Their logic being like, look, I'm a wanted man. People want to take me out because I'm reaching tons and tons of young men and I'm changing the culture. So any anonymous claim can be made against anyone. And that's absolutely something that I think is worth at least talking about. They talk about how the five separate charges were dropped, but the trafficking charges were upgraded. And they mentioned that one of the things that bothered me in the Digcerto article that talked about this, they lump in the human trafficking charges with R-word claims, meaning that they try to put them in the same context. Is he guilty of all this stuff? Maybe, probably. I don't know.
It's different. There's a civil suit in the UK with, I think, 3 or 4 anonymous women accusing Andrew Tate of physical abuse and R-word. But that's totally separate from the human trafficking charges that he's facing in Romania. Yeah. And then that even is totally separate from the charges that Tristan Tate is facing, which... You said this has something to do with TikTok?
So they said, but in the year, he explains in the video that the charges were laid that said that in 2021, starting in 2021, they formed a criminal gang to steal the money made by women on TikTok. Like, I guess that was the extent of their. He says this is after they ran the Camgirl site. He also mentions, he says that he did run the Camgirl site. He does not run the Camgirl site anymore, and that the people that worked for him still stay on good terms with him. We can't confirm any of this. I don't know whether these guys are guilty or not. I do know that they're extremely influential to the culture, far more, I think, than any of the people we were talking about earlier.
Influential in a good way or a bad way?
I think there are plenty of things that Andrew Tate says that are absolutely good pieces of advice for young men. We talked yesterday about his story, about what he was telling these ladies on Fresh and Fit about his grandmother. I believe that to be a sound story. What was he saying? He was saying, he's like, look, in 50 years, nobody's going to care about what job you had. And he tells a story about his grandmother who's surrounded by all these people, all life that was brought forth by her. right? I think that there's plenty of things that this dude has said that are absolutely good pieces of advice to give young men. Whether he's a good person or not, now we're getting into the he said, she said, I can't know.
Well, it just seems like for every clip where Andrew Tate is saying something of substance that you could say is like a good piece of advice for young men, there's another clip to match it where he seems at least to totally contradict himself. Yeah. And another thing I wanted to bring up is like in this live stream, he said he has like faith and he has trust in the Romanian judicial system. But given what he said about why he moved to Romania in the first place, it doesn't seem like he does. In a now deleted clip, he said that probably 40% of the reason he had moved to Romania in 2017 was because he believed it would be easier to evade R-word charges. Yeah. Quote, I'm not an R-wordist, but I like the idea of just being able to do what I want. I like being free. So I don't have trust in the Romanian judicial system. I don't think that he should either, especially after him being detained without any... I mean, that's not something that happens in the U.S. Unless you're part of J6. Being detained without charges, without a trial yet. But all of the things that he's been accused of, like, they are horrifying. Yeah.
In the chat, Negative YouTube says he's referring to what Andrew Tate said. He says the guy who has no kids and runs through broads. I'm assuming that he's saying that, saying about Andrew Tate. Tristan Tate has kids, but like, look, advice can be good and a story can be good, even if necessarily the person's ideals fall short of it, right? Like, that's not necessarily the thing. It's like when we watch these movies, right? If I go see a movie with a guy, if the performance is good, I'm going to like the performance. Whether that person who gives the performance lives up to that, to who they are in the real world, sure, I don't necessarily know or care.
Another thing that I want to know about this human trafficking
they're saying Andrew Tate does have kids. Maybe they were talking about something like
Does he?
Does he? I know Tristan has kids.
I want to know who these two suspects are in the human
women.
Trafficking case that are Romanian nationals who are women.
Yeah.
Their identities haven't been released yet for some reason, but they are allegedly involved as well. And then there's another separate investigation into a different Romanian national named Vlad Obuzic, and two other suspects who allegedly recruited women by pretending to want to date or marry them and instead coercing them into producing pornographic content.
Here's the clip. Somebody found the clip of Tristan Tate. So here, I'm going to play this one. This is him talking about his charges.
Okay.
Years ago, does this link it to the case somehow? I'm going to tell you what we are accused of, and I'm allowed to talk about this because it was on my arrest documents. Here is the official story.
Roki.
In 2021, 2 years ago, my brother and I formed an organized criminal gang with the intent of moving women to Romania so we could steal money from their TikTok accounts to enrich ourselves. I think it's very important that I tell the world this and come across explaining what we're accused of, because people are asking very normal questions, even fans of mine. Hey, Tristan, you used to run a webcam studio. I no longer run one, but yes, I used to. How is this linked into the case? That has nothing to do with the case. There is no link between what I'm currently being accused of, what I'm currently going through, and any activities I used to do with running webcam studios. Everyone who works for me has sent me letters of encouragement, emails of encouragement. I appreciate them all. I appreciate the love.
Scared me. Thank you.
But the narrative...
Now what I want is Ian and Andrew Tate on an episode together. What if we get Ian and Andrew Tate
or an a cappella trio?
Yes, I'm down. Look, it's all like one of the things that I found true about...
Okay, this is misleading, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is Tristan talking about his charges.
The human trafficking case that's against Andrew Tate, not Tristan, does involve the camming sites.
Maybe. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. All the information is so muddled that I don't know whether that's the same or different. And that seems to be a running theme with all of the stuff that involves Andrew Tate, is it's very good at muddying the waters as far as like what's real, what's true, and what's not.
I mean, I do believe that's intentional.
When he got arrested, people were in the comment section where 5 people would say yes, no, 5 people would say no. This is an old photo from an old arrest. This isn't current. He hasn't been arrested. 5 more people would say no, this is new. He was arrested in 2021 and released several hours later. This is new. And like, how much time does the average person have to go look through all these responses?
No. Yeah.
Like, the internet really is an Orwellian kind of hellscape of information, which you won't ever know whether anything is 100% real or not. And it's actually bad, I think, for the average person's mental health if you have to look at everything and never feel like you have solid footing under you about what's real, what's true, what's happened, what hasn't. That's dangerous.
Yeah. Even after like trying to research through this and like parse through the allegations, it is hard to understand what's actually going on. But from what I can tell, Tristan Tate here is just talking about the charges that involve him.
Yes.
But the ones that involve...
But he also says, my brother and I formed a criminal gang. So
well, that would involve both of them. But what involves Andrew Tate specifically and not Tristan would be involving campsites.
But I saw no
like
confirmation.
2013 through 2017.
But I saw no confirmation of that. All the stuff that I saw
that was in this article from the New York Post.
All the stuff that I saw that they were talking about from far back then was the women that were suing him and sent him the letter.
This from the New York Post article says that Romania's DICOT anti-organized crime prosecutors said 4 suspects are facing charges of R-word and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women. That has nothing to do with TikTok.
Yeah.
Each has been under house arrest in Romania since March 31st, and they added a 7th victim to the investigation. So this is all involving the campsite.
Okay.
From 2013.
The stuff I'm seeing here, it says Romanian prosecutors are expected to issue an indictment with details of the formal charges leveled against the brothers and their associates later this month, which could mark the start of the trial. They're
going to announce a trial date later this month.
Yeah, and they talk about the letters that these women wrote to him. It says, separately on Wednesday, lawyers representing 4 women in the UK delivered a letter to Mr. Tate at his home in Bucharest. They accused Mr. Tate of R-word, serious assault, and coercive behavior.
This is separate, though.
Yeah.
This is the UK case.
So it's like there's
the
so much.
The lawsuit in the UK is totally separate from the campsite thing.
Yep.
So once again, it's like just so unfathomably convoluted. Yep. But they're the ones that are accusing him of R-word and physical abuse. One of them said that they alleged that Andrew Tate strangled her until she was unconscious during sex and continued to have sex with her unresponsive body.
Rick C in the chat is saying that the charges have nothing to do with the campsites. So again,
but that's not what the Romanian DICOT said.
Yeah. So
that the ones that involve those 2 unnamed Romanian nationals, that does involve the campsites.
Yep.
So it's not about TikTok. For Tristan Tate, that's what he was talking about. That's separate. I have no idea what that's about.
Yep. And again, these are all allegations, and how do they prove any of it? Like, will the dude ever end up spending a day in jail? I have no idea.
They're investigating it. They've been investigating it for quite a while now. We'll find out later, I guess.
It's crazy. It's like, but just
during a trial,
it's not like it's not unreasonable to ask yourself the question, like I was talking about this earlier. Okay, like we used to live in a world where Hollywood would very, very aggressively work to make sure that their celebrities had clean-cut images so that they could give you, the viewer, the opportunity to feel confident that when you were watching a movie, you were watching a movie starring someone that maybe
good people,
right? So now we kind of live in a world where you go to a Flash movie, you're like, did this guy choke slam? No, well, actually, no, we know he choke slammed the woman. Did this guy groom a bunch of kids? I have no idea. We watch Andrew Tate, 430,000 concurrent viewers. Did this guy traffic a bunch of women? No clue. We have just destroyed the illusion. He would say the Matrix. We have destroyed the illusion in the Matrix that everyone you consume content from is a good person, right?
Yeah, like, or we used to at least be served the courtesy of Hollywood hiding its ugliness.
Or even like think about how far back it goes in Hollywood. They wouldn't even want people like it's not like it wasn't until recently where it became passé to have a redemption story from drugs or alcohol or something like that. They wanted to make sure that a person's image was as clean cut as possible. Even something like this show, where I'm open about the bad, just the mistakes that I had made, about things I did when I was younger, addiction issues, things like that. Like, we've destroyed the illusion that the people you consume media from are these bastions of goodness and people that hold the same values as you do. It's just not the world we live in anymore. And I think when you get an influx of information, you're just, did he do this? Did they do this? Was this real? Was this real? At a certain point, your brain disengages. And you say, I have no idea. I can't know for sure.
Which is why people take hard sides in something that we really don't know about.
Exactly. Like, so it's like, is any of it real? I have no idea, but I do know that I'm watching this live stream, I'm watching this, and it's entertaining. And that's really all the truth you can make of the matter. And I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's necessarily something as a society we want to strive for. I do know that it's more honest to the world we live in than the one that Hollywood used to portray us back in the day.
Yeah.
But whether that's a good thing or not, I can't actually say. I suspect that maybe it raises kids into a world where, if the best possible outcome is that it raises kids into a world where they have no illusions about the people they see in the media, so therefore maybe it helps eliminate the idea of hero worship a little bit. They're just like you and I, and oftentimes worse. Don't worship these people. They're false idols. But I don't know.
There are fans of the Tates that do kind of blindly worship everything they do and say. So that has not been the response, and I don't think
and nobody should worship any celebrity or any, like, if you're going to really look up to someone you actually know. Like, right. I guess, like, maybe that's horrible advice, but like
no, I think that's good advice. But unfortunately, like, I think Andrew Tate would even admit this. A lot of the young men that follow him and admire him don't have someone in their real life that they know who is a role model, especially a male role model.
Which is a failing of the culture.
To be
That's
like
not a failing of Andrew
the
Tate.
surrogate father figure over the internet to a bunch of young men is not something I see as like aspirational. I think it's depressing.
It's an indictment of the culture. It's not an indictment of Andrew Tate. There's plenty that you can criticize Andrew Tate for, like him or not, but he didn't create this cultural hole that he's filling, right? Like, he did not create the void that young men feel in the world. He's simply, in many ways, creating a product and selling a message to people. A lot of people fear that message, sure, but it's not his fault that that message is there.
Even when Jordan Peterson popped up on the scene.
Exactly.
Taking the same role as like this kind of father figure to a bunch of young men who didn't have that growing up, he was maligned in similar ways.
So maybe there's something to it. Like, look, they don't want society. They're not wrong. It does seem that mainstream media, Hollywood, these industries want to create a culture full of men who have no desire to inherit any level of masculinity, have no desire to have any type of alpha personality, have no ability to protect, defend, or stand up for themselves. We have continually tried to push the idea that women can be strong women, independent, don't need no man, but we didn't do anything for the last 20 years about how men were supposed to evolve.
Yeah.
So this
is the result you get.
This is what you get.
Like it or not.
Yep. So it's crazy, because to me, it's like we could have avoided this if we had just found a way to better balance a culture that said, yes, women can be the CEO and women can be moms and they can do all these things. But guess what? Not all guys are awful people. Not all guys are evil.
They're saying it's the internet dads.
Well, yeah, they're
my internet dad is Alex Jones.
Is one an internet dad, and is the other one like your internet cool uncle?
We got one from Unusable Alpaca. Not only has the pretend goodness of Hollywood fallen away, but in addition to that, the governments of the world, including ours, have shown just how corrupt they are.
Yes. I mean, a lot of that is just down to the fact that information is so much more readily available than it ever was growing up. Like, you don't have to any longer just accept the 4 main news sources that you get your information from. It does cause a problem because the overabundance of information makes it for people to be like, a lot of people are like, look, I give up. I don't freaking care. Like, is any of this real? I have no clue. I'm fine with that, as long as you don't then assume that just because the media, the mainstream media, is the one presenting information on the most channels, as long as you don't just assume that because it's the most seen that it's true, I'm fine with disengaging, as long as you're always willing to constructively criticize and call into question official narratives. So, thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.